Who is Malcolm M.J. Harris?
Do not chase anyone. If that man is giving you mixed signals and you don't know where you stand in his life, ignore him. You cannot be in a healthy relationship with somebody who does not take accountability. If you was a priority, he would have called you by name. Stop chasing emotionally unavailable people because they are not able to love you the way you deserve. Okay, cool.
Hey, how are you?
Wow.
I'm really good. How y'all doing?
Look at who we have here, Mr. Malcolm.
Welcome. I have to say, always good to meet you, buddy.
It's nice to meet you both.
I have been a fan for years.
Oh, thank
Me
you so
too.
much. I
Me
appreciate
too.
that.
Me too.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you up here.
I'm excited to be here. Let me wipe off this thing. I was sitting here literally taking my hair down because I get my hair done in the morning.
hmm How you doing?
I'm really good. I'm at home here in Brazil. Just came in from dinner. Life is good.
Well, I'm coming down. You're in Brazil. Let me steer you book a flight.
So tell me, what's your name? Tell everybody what's your name.
My name is Malcolm.
Malcolm. And Malcolm,
Yeah.
how old are you?
I'm 41.
41. Well, you know,
Mhm.
I'm knocking. I'm knocking. So Malcolm, so you already said you live in Brazil. Is that currently is that where you're from? Like,
No. I'm Black American. I'm Jamaican. I'm Jamaican and Black American. I'm from Texas originally, but I spent most of my childhood in DC.
really? Okay.
hmm
And so, okay. And what got you out there and where you at now?
Ooh, maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I was doing a trip to Bali, and right before I left, like a month before, and I was like, you know what? I want to try living abroad for a little while. And one thing led to another. Tried
Mhm.
Bali and didn't want to stay there. And a friend of mine invited me to visit Brazil. That was 3 years ago, and I decided to make it my home.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
Malcolm,
That's
I was actually in Bali with you in spirit. I was watching your content. I was like, man, he's living a life. I said, let me go
Yeah, I
sell
love
some life insurance.
I
okay.
loved it. I loved it.
So Malcolm, just so that people can, I guess, get a better understanding of you, and before, so this is pretty much knocking out some preliminary. So we already got your name, we got where you from, we got you 41.
Yeah.
And so Malcolm, what do you classify as? Would you say you're gay, straight, or bisexual?
Baby, I'm gay as fuck.
Yeah.
As gay as I want to be, baby. I'm trying to
Oh
get my phone
man.
charger.
Okay. So, so
I'm gonna
Malcolm, are
sit still
you
in a minute. I'm just plugging in this phone charger so that
okay?
it don't go out. Okay.
I'll
Okay.
wait
I'm
till you
sorry.
get
Go
this
ahead.
started.
Now I'm
What up,
talking.
KK? So are you in a relationship at all?
I actually just got out of a relationship.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't a bad breakup or anything like that, was
No, God, no, God, no.
it? Okay. Okay. Because I know you don't play no games. I done seen a couple of your posts.
Yeah, you don't keep them if they ain't right. We know that about you, Malcolm.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. You know, the crazy thing is he doesn't speak very much English. And so he didn't
oh, that's
really
the good
know,
ones.
yeah, he didn't really know much about my work. And he would say, I translated one of your videos. And he's like, you're a lot. I was like, I know.
hmm
But
Okay.
it's fun.
So Malcolm, before we continue to move forward, so for the people that's in the chats, who don't know you or don't follow you, tell everybody a little bit about what you do, like how you started in social media, like kind of what you do.
I'm an entrepreneur. I always tell people I'm an entrepreneur, and I use my face to market the products and services that I have created. So I am in the insurance industry, and I've created one of America's largest Black-owned insurance businesses. In addition to that, I own other insurance-related businesses, and now I'm in the tech industry. I have an app called Feminine Queen AI. I always say it's the Chat GPT for feminine queens for women, for anyone who considers themselves a feminine queen. And so that's what I do. And of course, I do social media content, which has been a really wonderful vehicle for being able to expose people to who I am in
Right.
the businesses that I do.
Okay. Cool. So you mentioned you just got out of a relationship. Wasn't a bad one, so great. Um, what do you look for in a guy? So if you were looking, what attracts you to a guy?
For me, it's changed at this point in my life. Um, I think the most important thing is that a guy is emotionally secure. You know, masculine, feminine, all that stuff I really don't care about. I think emotionally secure is really important 'cause I think you can get through anything with someone if they are emotionally secure. If you both are emotionally secure, um, monogamy is important to me. I'm not really into the other stuff, which is fine, but I'm just not wired for it. Tried it. I was like, I can't do the other stuff. That's important. And, I live a really unique lifestyle. I live in Brazil. At any moment, I'm like, let's go to South Africa. Let's go wherever. My life is really, really flexible. And so
Mhm.
someone who is comfortable with that or has the same level of flexibility to be able to do it, that's really important. Lifestyle alignment is important to me.
Okay. And then, so again, with you being 41, is there a cutoff? Like, what's the youngest or the and the oldest that you would date?
I don't know if I can go below like 30. That'd be tough. For me, that'd be tough. Oldest, but let's say 10 years up, 10 years down.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've never really dated someone much older than me. Um, I would say 10 years up, 10 years down. That feels good.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I mean, look, as long as they listen, listen, as long as they, I guess, look good, because it looks do play a part.
Well, I think looks is important. Sexual chemistry is extremely important. I remember when I
Hmm.
was watching your show about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Hmm.
I was some folks were on there saying how chemistry was. That person was saying it wasn't important for him, and I was like, I get that, but I think that attraction is incredibly important.
Right. Yes. I think it is. 'Cause if not, okay. So what about like what turns you off? What are your turn ons and turn offs?
Hmm. I think probably one of my biggest turn offs is someone who doesn't. Um, I would say people who are very insecure. Like I don't really do well with like jealousy, that kind of stuff. That's
Right.
probably a big turn off. This is a pet peeve. I don't know if it's a big turn off, but someone who doesn't really manage their schedule very well. Like I don't want to have to fight for time on your schedule. My life is busy, so if I make time for you, you make time for me. I really don't want to
Right.
feel like that. So that's probably a turn off. I think that's probably the biggest ones.
Yeah. Okay.
MJ, I have a question for you.
Of course.
What is your skin routine, bro? Because listen, you got a halo. Like, what's going on, man?
My skin routine is it's a product called Glycerina, which I think is like uh, glycerin. I think that's probably what is best described as. All I use the cheapest, like this cheap facial moisturizer from Nivea is available here in Brazil, but I think it's available everywhere really. It's $4 here. It's not the most expensive product, okay? But I mix glycerin in it because I saw this Korean influencer on TikTok who was doing it, and what it does is it keeps your skin moisturized. And so that's all I do. And I wear SPF every day, even if the sun is not bright, just to protect my skin. But so it's probably some bit of a genetics in there too, because my mom has pretty clear skin.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, so what are your love languages?
Quality time is definitely one of them. Um, I used to say quality time and physical touch, but my thing is I'm an affectionate person, so if we spend the time together, then we touching. And
Hmm.
so I would say probably quality time and words of affirmation. I'm very vocal when I like something. Like, I always will compliment people. I was in the restaurant today and the girl came over to the table and she had this beautiful, I could tell she's got her hair dyed. And I was like, oh, sweetie, your hair is so beautiful. I always affirm people. I affirm people.
That's cool. I feel like we got a celebrity
I'm
on here,
sorry.
guys. Like, make sure you are like really gifting this guy. Like, we are very blessed to have him on this hot seat. He is a very busy guy. He is all
Oh,
around the world. Okay, so tap in, lock in. My little commercial for you.
Yes.
Like, go your commercial
thank
break.
you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Now, so Malcolm, what are your requirements for the individual that you may be getting to know, like a requirements and boundaries?
Hmm. I think my requirements are different at this point in my life. My requirements at this point in my life is that, first of all, my nervous system needs to be at peace with you. I think that is incredibly important. I don't do the whole anxiety, where you at, what you doing stuff. My nervous system has to be at peace, and so does yours. It's about how I feel. Thankfully, I'm able to provide a pretty nice life for myself. So financially, I don't really have any requirements of a man. Not like, he got to make this much, or this much, or this much. That's not a thought. To me, he just needs to be able to take care of himself.
Right.
Um, I think beyond that, I think security, the reality is that because of the type of work that I do, and
Mhm.
everything like that, I think that someone with me has to have, my mother always has said this, anyone who's in your life has to either not watch any of your work at all, or they have to be extremely secure to be able to separate the character of MJ from
Right.
Malcolm. If they cannot separate those two things, then that would be challenging for them. And so I think that that's probably it as well. I think that's always been important. Unfortunately, I've been able to do that in all my relationships.
Have you dealt with jealousy due to your to what you do?
You know what the thing is this 92% of the people who watch me are women. And so, I remember I was sitting with the person who was now my ex on the sofa, and he was seeing me scrolling through DMs. And he said, I never have to worry about your DMs. It's like nothing but mothers and aunties. I laughed at that, but that's his perspective. And I was like, I love it. I absolutely love it. Those are my babies. But I've not had to deal with a great deal of jealousy. Nobody's sending me any, crazy photos in my DMs or anything like that. I always have the
You
best
sure?
audience on earth. I don't, I don't see them, and no one forwards that to me. So,
Okay. Check. Better
I
check
think I have
them.
the best audience on earth.
Okay. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. Um, how would you cater to your man, and how would you want them to cater to you?
Hmm. I think that when it comes to catering, the thing is this. I'm a Pisces. I'm very intuitive. So I always pay
Right.
attention to who the person I'm with. What are they like? What are they not like? And I'm very proactive. There's very few things that he has to ask for in terms of treatment or anything like that once I know exactly how he is. So I think that that's it. Um, I make a man feel great. That's my claim to fame. I've never had any complaints about that. In terms of how he feels when he's
Mhm.
with me. And I think that's my thing. I'm all about how you make me feel. I know what I bring to the table in terms of
Yeah.
the experience, the personality, the warmth, the
Right.
love, the sensuality. And so that's something that I require in return.
So out of the years that you've been dating, um, actually, how many relationships have you been in?
Mm.
Serious ones,
Probably
anyway.
serious relationships, three. Like
Three.
serious. Yeah.
Okay. And out of those three, like, which one was the one that was, I guess, the hardest to let go because of how they treated you? They treated you very well. You loved them, and then the catering was to T. So like, which one was the hardest?
When the relationship that I'm thinking about was a relationship that I was in for a very long time while I was on camera and as I was starting to become known. And he was a very big part of that. He largely helped manage my career and move into being more visible. And of course, he was never on camera with me, but he was always behind, sitting there beside the camera. He was nearby. And I
Right.
think that was really hard because I made a mistake that some men make, but I know that a lot of women make, especially, which is making the mistake of making so much of my life and my financial stability be attached to someone else, a man. And that was definitely hard because it was hard to leave because I did not know how that would impact my life. and my ability to support myself.
Hmm. I see. Okay. What about have you ever been engaged?
Hmm.
You have been. Have you ever been married?
Hmm.
Okay. Just one?
Hmm.
Would you get married again?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay. And now is there, I know we shouldn't say, okay, we're going to put a time on it, but you've already been married. So,
yeah.
like, is there a time frame of when you want to be married again by?
You know, in my mind, I love being married. It was fabulous. But in my mind, I'd always have thought to myself, I said, I would be happy to do like what's her name, Goldie Hawn, and be with somebody forever and not be married. I don't necessarily need to be married again. But I don't have a timeline on that in terms of when I need to be, or when you say a timeline, like how far from now I want to be married, or like how long to date someone before I'm married.
Yeah, like, right. Given your age now, like, like, is there an age where you want to be married by?
Not particularly. No.
Okay.
Not particularly. I don't have a sense of urgency around it. I'll tell you this. One thing about moving to Brazil that changed my mindset a lot was Brazil is a place that, at least as I've experienced, it's a place where ageism for gay men is not as prominent. And
Hmm.
so yeah, I remember when I lived in LA specifically, I remember hitting 30 and I was like, oh shit, I'm getting old. 35, oh shit, I'm getting really old. But here that's just not the same.
Right.
And so I don't feel that my desirability or my
Hmm.
ability to be in a relationship decreases as I get older. So I don't have a sense of urgency around it.
Okay. And I'm gonna go back because there was a question in the chat that I did overlook, but and I know you told us in the beginning, but they might have missed it. But someone asked, why did you move to Brazil?
Oh, why? A friend of mine, I'd already moved abroad, so I moved to Indonesia first, Bali. And then after that, I moved to South Africa and I was there. I have a business there. And we were filming while we were there. And so after that year of filming, I was like, I don't know if I want to stay. I want to try something different. And a friend of mine said, why don't you come to Brazil
Right.
for a week or two? So I came. And when I came, I don't know, something about it. I was like, I think I like this place. I think it can work with me. And honestly, what I liked about it a lot was it was a completely different way of life. Anyone who's been to Brazil knows that, if you walk down the street, Mark, in Brazil, if any of us walk down the street, people think you're Brazilian because Brazil is a very black country.
Right.
But even though aesthetically we fit in, it was such a different way of life. I got to learn a new language and everything like that. So I don't know, it just was a different way to live. And my work is not popular here at all, because it's not in Portuguese. So because my work is not popular here, there's never a moment in my day-to-day life where I'm engaging with someone and like, I've seen you before. And
Hmm.
that's very nice for me as well.
Yeah. I mean, but do you miss that? I mean, do you?
No, no, no,
No.
no.
Okay.
What my favorite part of my job is? My favorite part of my work is that I get to get on camera. I get to put on the makeup and have my chest hanging out and everything like that. I get to put on the show, and then I can literally walk downstairs and walk down the street to a bakery and get something to eat. And no one who sees me knows that I just did something that a million people are going to see within the next 2 days. I like that balance.
Is that because what is that because your content is within the US
Yeah.
or like okay. Okay.
Until recently, Meta wasn't translating my content. Now they translate a lot of the videos automatically, but
Hmm.
until recently, they weren't translating my videos into any other language. So my biggest audiences are in English speaking countries like South Africa, Australia, the US, places like that. I don't really have a prominent audience in other countries where English isn't a primary language.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So getting back to marriage, when you were married before or
Mhm.
even in the future, would you have required a prenup?
Yes. And let
Would you
me
have?
tell you why. Let me tell you why. I am a big believer in prenups because, I tell everyone this. I don't care if you both are custodial workers making $45,000 a year. You still should have something signed in advance because a prenup is not just about the money. It's about, well, if we have kids together, what will be the custody arrangements if we were to break up? And so I would rather decide the terms of our breakup, and hopefully we don't break up, but I'd rather decide that while we are deeply in love rather than decide it in a courthouse when everybody hates each other. So I like it just because if you want out, the last thing you want to do is have to deal with fighting about stuff.
Right. Especially with children involved.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you have children?
I have my nephew sons. So my two nephews who came to live with me.
In California.
Yeah, they can live. But when we left the United States, they came also because they were
And
teenagers.
that was the nephew that you had with you when he was living with you in Cali?
It was
Okay.
another one too who didn't prefer to be on camera as much, but he was there the whole time too. He's a year younger.
Okay. So how many kids he have?
I mean, kids do my babies, my nephew sons, two.
He got two. Okay.
No. I have two. He doesn't have the children. I have my two. They're my nephew sons, like nephew hyphen son.
Right.
They're my brother's kids who came to live with me.
Got you. Okay. Okay. Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Now, do you want your own? Like when you get married, like do you want your own?
I used to be one of these people where I was like, I remember when the Kardashian show first came out, I was like, I want to be like them. I want to have 6 kids and everything like that. If I don't have more kids, I would be okay with that. If I'm with a partner and he's like, I want kids, I'm game for it 1000%. But would I go out, for example, and go adopt kids on my own? No, I don't think I would do that. Or,
Okay.
whatever route of getting kids. I don't think I would do that unless I was with a partner who wanted to do it. But if he wanted to, I would be so down for it.
Okay. How many would you want?
I used to say 6 because I grew up in a house of 6. It was 6 kids. Um, but I think 2 to 3 would be
Really?
good.
Power of
I
three.
think that'd be okay. I don't
Thank
think
you. I
I need much
appreciate that.
more than that.
Okay. Okay. Hey guys, we got 191 people in the chat. Y'all, can we please get to 20K in the next 5 minutes, y'all? Please, let's double tap the live, share it. Yeah, show some love to Malcolm. I don't know if you guys know him, but this is Malcolm, y'all. So great guy, got some good content out there. So please follow him if you guys don't follow him. And guys, if you don't already follow me, please follow me. This is my backup account, Mark's Hot Seat. Also, please follow my main account, Mark's Hot Seat 2.0. Also, please follow my co-hosts. We got Bird and Prince Darrell. We greatly appreciate it, guys. But please, let's double tap, repost, share the live. Let's get to 20K, 5 minutes, y'all. Okay. And so, Malcolm, do you enjoy someone who matches or balances your energy?
Well, I am extremely introverted. And so because I'm so introverted, I always say I could be in the room and you wouldn't even know I was there most of the time. I'm not a big talker. And so because of that, I like other introverts, but I find that if you too introverted like me, we're not gonna go nowhere, we're not gonna do nothing. So I do better with people who got just a little touch more extroversion in them. They got that more people energy to them, that kind of thing. I think that I generally it's better with the balance.
Right. I agree. Okay. So you've been in 3 serious relationships.
Serious, yeah.
What makes you feel safe and relaxed in the beginning of a relationship? What makes you feel safe and relaxed in the beginning
I
of a
talk
relationship?
I talk about relationships every single day on the camera, and I never think
I
about
know.
this kind of stuff.
I know.
So what makes me feel safe and relaxed is, first of all, consistency. That is really important. Consistency and just keeping your word, that is really important to me. I think transparency is really important, extremely important. That's what makes me feel safe and relaxed. And touch makes me feel safe and relaxed. Not necessarily in a sensual way, but
Right.
I like that. I'm an affectionate person. I think that those are probably the things that initially do. And another thing that makes me feel safe and relaxed as I start to get close to someone is when a person has good boundaries with the people in their life and they have good boundaries for themselves. Because what I found is that you can love someone all you want, but let's say that they got poor boundaries with their mother And their mother's always coming around, always calling. He don't know how to tell her no. He got poor boundaries with his friends. Every time his friends want something, he's giving out money or something like that. It affects the relationship. And so experience has taught me that is something that I start to pay attention to very early on, is what are your boundaries with the other people in your life? Because us getting in a relationship is not just us, it's our lives coming together, including how we deal with other people.
Okay. We got someone in the chats. Their name is unavailable. They say they love you and that you saved their life. Don't know what that is, but good. I'm glad you were able to help them out, Malcolm.
It's a blessing to be a blessing.
Right. Okay. So, Malcolm, have you been on a date and immediately got a red flag?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hell
What,
yeah.
what was some?
Yes, I've dated a lot. Yes.
What were some of the red flags you seen, and what happened after those red flags, or after those dates?
This is no offense. I'm not a judgy person, but this was a red flag to me. So anyone who knows me knows I'm not really a big drinker. I don't do any substance or anything like that. That's just not been my thing. I grew up around addiction, so I don't have a recreational appetite for that stuff.
Hmm.
And so anyway, I went on this date with a guy. This was years ago. It was in DC. And I remember he kept getting up from the table. Kept getting up from the table. And I was like, why is he getting up from the table? And every time he would come back, his nose was running. And he was more fidgety. And given how I grew up, unfortunately, I know what that looks like and I know what that was. And so that was a red flag for me. And so I said, he going to the bathroom, going skiing in there. And so that was a bit of a red flag for me because I'm like, wow, he is at a stage of his
Thank you.
usage that he can't even maintain himself to stay at the table on a date. And I said to myself, I wonder what the other parts of his life look like. So I started asking more questions, like, and not about that specifically, but like, so tell me about this, tell me about that. By the time I got done with him, he talked to me about how he's deep in debt and all these things that was going on. And I was like, okay, because I don't think that we compartmentalize our behavior, right? So
Right.
one thing uses a reflection of the other stuff. And so I wasn't judging him specifically for his, his activity. I was just thinking, wow, his lack of control, even in this environment, I wonder what the rest of his life is like. And that was the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay. Um, Guys, in the chats again, we got Malcolm up here. If you guys have any questions for Malcolm, do put them in the chats panel. Do you guys have any questions? 'Cause I know I keep blabbering, but do y'all have any questions y'all want to ask him? Y'all can interject at any time. But people in the chats, if you guys have questions, any neutral questions you want to ask, we definitely read them to Malcolm so he can answer.
I have a question for you, Malcolm. So what made you get into the industry that you work in now?
Insurance?
Yes.
So I used to work for Deloitte, and I was a big consulting firm, and I hated my job. I was the only me on my job, and anyone who's the only me in your environment, you know how it is to be in that kind of environment. And I didn't know how to deal with the microaggressions. I didn't know how to deal with that. And I was talking to my grandmother, and she was like, "Well, your brother just got his insurance license, and why don't you get your insurance license? You can help him out. Maybe y'all can go on some appointments together." And she said, "Because you got a mouthpiece on you, baby. You can talk. You can talk." And so I got my license to help my brother, but he didn't want to continue with it. And when I got into it, I realized I was a really good seller, but I was really, really, really good at training and teaching people how to sell. And so I just kept doing it. And I thought it was going to be a temporary thing. I just wanted to earn enough money so I can open a Subway restaurant. I wanted to open a Subway because I read a magazine that said that Subways were a low-cost franchise. And I was like, I'll do this long enough to save up enough money to open a Subway. And the power of social media expanded it because I went on camera. I was selling, but not doing as well with it as I like to. And I was really doing bad financially. I had a lot of debt and I was considering filing bankruptcy. So I did a video called Don't Go Broke, trying to impress people. And that video, because Angela Yee and some other people shared it, ended up collectively getting almost 40 million views in less than 60 days. And so someone came to me and said, "Hey, why don't you consider," not someone, my ex at the time, who was so instrumental in my life, said, "Why don't you consider monetizing this?" And I said, I'm going broke. How am I going to monetize helping people with money when I'm not even good with my own? He said, "But you're trustworthy, you're honest." And so, with his help, I turned a little insurance agency into a digital agency, which, became the foundation of what I built.
That's amazing. And I see you've passed the baton to Marco.
He's doing good. He's running his insurance business from Bali now. I just talked to him last night. I talked to him literally every day. He called me up. I'm looking at this contract. What should I do? I'm thinking about doing this. And he's got a new restaurant in Bali now as well. He's doing really, really good. I want him to post
Okay.
more, but he doesn't share everything.
That's
Okay.
amazing.
I got a question. I think the last time I think I probably interacted with you, you came to Mark Live, and we were having a discussion about do you think sex is important in part of a
Yes.
relationship? Yeah. And why do you? And I believe you was like you. That's a must for you. Why do you believe that's a must, or why is that important for you? Again.
You don't know why. I thought about it after the thing, 'cause I was like, why is it so important to me? I think it's important to me because I think that intimacy and sex is the sixth love language. There are sometimes, let's say that we're in a relationship and we have been arguing and we've been going through it. Sometimes I think that the serotonin release and the chemicals that are released through sex it bonds us. It's been proven. So I think that sex is not just about the act of release, so to speak. I think that it is a bonding mechanism that is critically important. And for people, sex can look different between different partners, obviously. But I think that it is a bonding mechanism that, for my relationships, I have found to be incredibly important. It's not the most important thing, but it's like trying to make cake without flour. It'd be kind of tough.
Right. Always, it's definitely good. I tell you what, after an argument or a nice little playful fight, whatever, child.
Or after a good day, you all have had a really good day, or it's a bonding mechanism. I
Yeah.
see it in that way.
So you couldn't see yourself being in a relationship that wasn't like sex. Like sex had to be a part of it. You couldn't be in a relationship without sex.
I couldn't. And I know many couples who have very successful, happy relationships without it or with very little of it. And I think that works because their needs are different than mine. But based on my needs, I don't think that I could, no.
Okay.
I agree with you, Malcolm. I agree with
Hmm.
you.
But I will say this. In no way do I believe that this should be a standard for everyone. I'm not globalizing my belief system that everyone should be in a relationship where sex is on the table or that no one should be in a relationship where sex is on the table. My big thing is to be honest with yourself and myself and yourself in general, like speaking in general terms, about what your needs are and then finding a partner who has compatible needs. Because I think that that's the key to happiness.
Mm. So a question in the chats, and I know you said you were, but one of the questions was, are you bilingual? And what languages do you speak?
I speak English and Portuguese, but I'm in conversational in English and Portuguese, but I understand Creole as well. Well, specifically Portuguese Creole, like Brazilian Portuguese Creole. But I speak English and Portuguese.
Okay. And another question, and you can answer a brief on this one, but another question is how do you heal from a heartbreak?
So the thing about heartbreak is this, it's a form of grief. I think that sometimes heartbreak from a breakup is harder than even losing someone to death because it's a living death. That person is still there. And that can be tougher because the sense of closure doesn't always come from it. And sometimes you can be re-traumatized if the person is still alive and they're still doing things that hurt you, or maybe they're posting their new partner online or whatever it may be. And so I think that the way to heal from heartache is a couple of things. First of all, you need to forgive yourself
Hmm.
for whatever choices you made that allows you to be in that relationship in the first place, in terms of where it broke down. No relationship is perfect. And even if he was the worst person on earth, well, you still chose to be there. So you
Right.
need to forgive yourself. The other piece of it is you need to give yourself permission to be hurt. humans have a innate desire to avoid pain. And the problem with our desire to avoid pain is that we also avoid processing. And I think pain is incredibly important because you need to feel the pain, you need to feel the anger, you need to feel the sadness. So let yourself feel it and understand that feeling it is not going to kill you. And because what I've found is the quickest way through heartbreak is just to go straight through it. So I tell people to journal it. One of the things I recommend that people do is get a voice recorder and talk into it continuously, talking about what you feel as if you're talking to that person. Get it out. You have to get it out. You know, but ultimately, time. I think time is really the easiest way to get through it. I've been through it a couple times, and that's always been the way.
Okay. So when do you how do you know when you're starting to catch feelings for someone?
Oh, honey, I used to say I take a U-Haul on the first date. I remember my first relationship of I think almost 4 or 5 years. We went on the first date. He took me out for Italian food. And then after the date, he says, "You want to come back to my house and smoke?" And I'm thinking, I'm just going to smoke his weed and fall asleep on his couch. And I did. Ain't nothing happened. And the next day, I was still there. The next day, I was still there. The next day, I was still there. I love love. I love love. I don't judge people like Jennifer Lopez, anyone like that. I love love. Oh, it feels so good. And so for me, the emotional Pisces, how do I know when I'm in love? Well, I'm breathing. If I'm breathing, I'm in love, right? But I think on a serious note, I think I know that I'm in love when I feel incredibly safe with the person.
Okay.
When they become a deep priority in my life, and I'm also a deep priority in their life. Um, Yeah, I think that those are the things as our lives begin to be more integrated together. Because as open as I am, I'm very boundaried. People don't kind of come into certain spaces in my life until I'm ready for that. And so once I start letting them in that space, I know I'm in love.
Okay. And so you mentioned going back, or you was at his house and day after day,
Mhm.
nothing happened, right? Do you kiss on the first date?
But yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I live in Brazil, honey. They kiss when they first meet you. No, I do kiss. So the thing was this with him, I really liked him. I really liked him. And that Southern Christian mindset that I grew up with was keep your knees together because you want him to respect you. Right. And so I think that was a part of it. That I was like, I want him to like me. Now I don't have the same belief system now, but I want him to like me and respect me. And so that's why it took months of sleeping in the same bed before, but I was young. I was so young. I didn't know any better.
So, Malcolm, have you ever dated someone and you knew that they were bad for you, that they were just wrong for you, but because you was just you were just really attracted to them, you was just, I don't know, whatever was what drew you to them, the attraction, the personality, but they were bad for you, but you stayed because of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely did that. I was in a relationship. I was much younger. And I think what it was my self esteem at the time was not very high. It just wasn't. I went through a lot of things in my childhood and um, it was tough. I was definitely still, living through that lens.
Hmm.
Trauma, trauma. And I made a mistake that I think a lot of people make, which was I allowed myself to see myself through the lens of how he told me he saw me. So in the days where he really liked me and he was love bombing me, I felt like heaven. On the days where he was ignoring me, I felt like nothing. And because I was always on that roller coaster ride with him, I got sucked in. I got sucked in. But I think it was my low self esteem at the time that made me susceptible to that.
Okay, that's understandable. I guess. Yes, yeah, that's definitely understandable. Um, Panel again. I don't want to keep blabbing, but if you guys got a question,
Have you do you believe in dating multiple people at one time?
Hmm.
she's
Okay.
Well, absolutely. My thing is this, and I teach this because I live it. You date multiple people until one makes it clear that
Mm-hmm.
they just want you and vice versa. You know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Now,
Malcolm, you
once I'm
lost.
in a relationship, I don't believe in, dating multiple people, but in terms of in that courting phase, absolutely.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you.
You lost me there, Malcolm. You lost me. You
Tell me
lost me.
about that.
You lost. Because look, this question has been a topic on here before,
Really?
and it has been a topic about dating multiple people at once. Because it's like, how can one of those people, I guess, really get to know you
Mm,
because you're focusing on two other people. You don't have that much time in the world, like to do your job, that your day to day, right?
mm,
Everything that you do, you are trying to focus on three people.
mm.
How does this all work?
So for me, it's always worked out really easily with it. And I'll tell you why. Because inevitably, I'm like with men, this is how I've experienced it, right? Generally speaking, there's always going to be that one guy who is very clear that he wants you. And he's going to probably make it difficult for you to have time for other people. He's going to try to, let's go here, let's do that. He's filling up your energy. He's taking the energy. And so my thing is, yes, it would be difficult if everyone was getting allocated the same amount of energy, but in the times when I've been single and I've, been in the courting phase and, going on dates with multiple people, that's never lasted very long because there's usually somebody who comes through. Like I said, I kind of like the more forward extroverted types, more assertive types. And inevitably, it's like, nah, baby, we're gonna lock this down. We're gonna lock it down. And so
So how
it
long?
never really lasts that long. There's always an alpha in the bunch. And alphas don't like competition for too long.
So how long? How long while dating three people, as you stated, one of them really shows you that they want you, that they're into you, and they're gonna
Yeah.
always try to take your time, right?
Yeah.
So how long with you dating these three people are you going to actually cut the other two off, just so that feelings and stuff like that don't really get involved?
Well, for me, one of the things is the way I manage it is when I say dating multiple people, that doesn't mean being intimate with multiple people. So I think that
Mhm.
also helps manage it as well because
Okay.
it's not like doing the do with everybody. That people do what
Right.
they do, and I'm not judging it, but that's just not something that I desire to do with everybody because of the feelings attachment. I can't separate those two things very easily. But it's pretty quick. And the thing that I also keep in mind is that sometimes other people are dating other people, so you may fall to the back of the line pretty quickly also. But in general, it normally happens within a matter of months. It doesn't take very long for someone else to stand up. But here's my thing. I remember with my ex, same thing was happening. Met him at a time where I was single, so was going on dates. And with him, he made his presence known in my life very quickly. He knew that I was new to, the country. And he was like, I'm coming every day to come pick you up to take you where you need to go because you don't speak enough Portuguese. I'm going to help you. I'm going to protect you when you go places. I want to make sure you're good. And so he found a way to be helpful, and to insert himself. So there was not really much room for anyone else. Now, I remember this one time we were out at a mall and there was this guy who walks up, like, hey, good to see you. And there's a guy who I got on a date with. Yes, I said, well, good to see you too. Gave him a little church hug from the side, like, hint, hint, don't come too close. And and my guy sees it, and we were not official just yet. And he sees it, and he looks like this. So he walks over to me and immediately puts his hand around my hip and pulls me close and sticks his other hand out to say, nice to meet you, to the other guy. I never got a call from the other guy again. And so, with him, he stood out. He made his presence known and it was easy. And so that to me, if a guy makes it easy to spend time with him, it's not like struggling, it's not hard to be connected. It happens so quickly.
Okay.
Mm, mm.
I guess you put it so well. Maybe I'm maybe I understand a
Girl,
little better.
please. Girl, please.
I,
Girl, please. Wait a minute. Hold on, y'all. Oh, Mark, please. You understand it now? Yeah.
I'm not talking about the dating multiple people. I ain't talking about that. I would never understand
Okay.
that.
Okay.
never understand Malcolm.
Okay.
But look,
Okay.
that
Okay. Okay.
yeah, Malcolm. I'm
I understand. I
that
wasn't
yeah, that,
always this way though. And so you know how I became this way, Mark? Was because I used to not be this way. And I would end up in these long situationships with people who I wasn't ultimately compatible with. And
mhm,
so to me, where I started to change my mindset was that I can entertain, at least talk to multiple people, get to know multiple people until,
mhm,
excuse me, until at least one person, until we have a level of chemistry where I feel like there could be a future. If I feel like there
right.
can be a future, then okay, it's a matter of let me focus in and get to know this person. But until I feel like that, you know, or until he it's clear that he feels that same way, I think that we'd be doing ourselves a disservice to focus on each other. We don't even know if we have the level of chemistry to do that just yet. All we know is that we have one another's phone numbers and that we're texting.
I guess with me, I guess I've done this in my early 20s, my early 20s. But it's like as I got older, when we got into like the 25 and then the 30, it was like
Hmm.
that just kind of stopped for me. But I mean, I did in the past, but like it's like now my mindset is totally different. I mean, because I did date multiple people or talk to multiple people at the same time before, but it's just like now it's totally different for me.
I get that.
You done
That's
what
Totally different.
before, Mark? You done what before in your 20s?
I've talked to multiple people at once. Hmm.
Okay.
Hey
Yeah.
MJ, I have a question for you. So, can you hear me?
I can hear.
Okay, if you could travel back in time and give some advice to the younger you, what would you tell them?
What would I tell my younger self?
Yeah, what advice would you give your younger self? Yeah.
Ooh. For love and dating advice, it would be hmm, it's a lot of them, honestly. I think it would be that God will never send you someone who constantly triggers your nervous system to feel anxious.
Mm.
Okay.
If a man makes you feel anxious, then that is a sign that somewhere within your neural pathways, somewhere within your body, somewhere within your spirit, that something is off and you need to slow down to figure out what it is.
Okay.
So I would tell myself that. When I was young, I thought it was infatuation. I thought it was chemistry. The birds, the butterflies. Um, but as I've gotten older, what I've realized is that my happiest relationships, friendship and otherwise, have always been relationships where there was peace consistently.
Okay.
And so, Malcolm, what's the fastest that you've ever caught feelings for someone?
The day where we went to Italian food and ended up in a relationship.
Mm.
Just took that one date, huh?
It took that. You know what it was? I had seen him before. I was a partier, right? I used to promote in college where I paid my bills was I used to promote parties, and so
Hmm.
I would go out a lot. And I remember I was on the speakers dancing at this one party, right? And he comes in literally, and I see him across from him, and he was the nerdiest thing in the room, nerdiest thing in the room. And I'm like, what is he doing? He does not fit here. And I saw him, but something in my mind was like, I want him. I don't know what it is about this man, but I want that man. And I saw him again, and he was so calm. He was so different than what my day to day was. He was just a real calm. At the time, he was a science. He just finished studying biology or something and started medical school. Just a calm guy,
Hmm.
and I just felt I was like, I like this guy coming out of a childhood of a lot of trauma and a lot of craziness at times. At that stage of my life, I was attracted to some safety. Felt calm to me. And so I think that's what I was attracted to about him. I think that's what we're always attracted to in a lot of cases. We're subconsciously attracted to someone who represents maybe an unmet need sometimes.
Hmm. Okay. Um, what would you, if someone asked you, what type of boyfriend would you be?
Me?
Hmm.
Um, I'm very loving, extremely loving. Um, I'm very warm. I'm a very warm person. You know, my videos is me rah, 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 talking to the camera, but I'm very, 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 very warm. Very gentle. Um, Luckily, because I've done pretty okay with my life, you know, I always say, you know, well, in my world, you know, it's a nice thing to be in my world. It's a very comfortable life, you know, so that's nice too. Um, you know, as I was saying to Bird, is it Bird or Beard? I want to make sure I pronounce it correctly.
It's Bird.
Bird. As I was
Hmm.
saying to Bird, you know, my sensual part of my life is really important to me. So, you know, 41 years has given me some credentials in that area to be able to, you know, make sure that everybody's happy. And I think that to be with me, I'm the kind of boyfriend where with me is an adventure. It is an adventure, not just because all the travel and all that other stuff, but there's nothing normal about my day to day life. It's fun as hell, and you know, whoever's in my life, I find it when people come in my life, even as friends, they're like, you know what, this shit is fun as hell, you know, and so I think that's what it is with me.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, if you guys have any questions, any more questions for Malcolm, y'all put them in the chats on the panel. We'll look at them and ask Michael if they are appropriate. So, guys, he is taking neutral questions, so please let your questions be neutral. Um,
I have
Daryl,
a
you got
question.
another
I have a
question?
question. Yes. So MJ, so when you start dating someone, right? How fast do you introduce them to your friends, and do you create boundaries?
When you say create balance, what do you mean? Like in terms of how I introduce them to my friends?
Yes.
So I used to date in secrecy. You wouldn't know who I was dating until like sometime later. Now I believe in dating in community because I think that sometimes your friends can see blind spots. And so with me, if I'm dating someone, they usually end up being around my friends relatively early. I don't have like a timeline for that specifically, but at some point in time, it may be a random, oh, babe, you know, so and so is having a dinner party, you know, let's go. Or, oh, so we're going to breakfast. You mind if so and so joins us? Or even people in his life, you know. Um, I think it's important. I think it's important just because from my side as well to be able to him to meet me to be able to meet the people in his life because you need to see what's his dynamic like with them. You don't really know a person if the only way you deal with them is in isolation, in my experience. And so it's not something that I really wait on, you know, doing. I don't rush to do it, but I don't really have it's not something I distance myself from.
Okay. Thank you.
So one of the questions that someone sent, um, they said, "How do you filter people who want you for you or for money? How can you tell when someone wants you for you and not for your money?"
Well, you start to figure it out pretty early. People don't really hide it very well, thank God. But you know, fortunately, I've not had to do it very much. You know, with my partner who I was with for quite some time, like I said, when I got with him, I didn't have a lot going on, and he was the one helping me. So within that relationship, my income ended up, you know, exceeding his, but he was the one helping me get to that point. So that wasn't a big deal. And then after him, I think that I have generally always been, even if it's just dating, I generally tend to lean towards men who are very comfortable within their own life. Now, that doesn't mean they're rich, but it does mean that they're solid. I find that, you know, if he's got a roof over his head, he has a home that he's proud of, he has a job he's proud of, he can be an administrator at a school, right?
Hmm.
But you know, if he's proud of it and he can provide for a lifestyle that makes him proud, I find that men who are proud of their lives and who live a comfortable life that fits their needs generally are not trying to go after someone's pockets, right? It's the folks who people don't become gold diggers because it's fun. They do it as a form of survival. And so, generally speaking, if someone is already surviving with great stability, I've not really had that issue.
Okay. Another question. It says, "What advice would you have for a woman with invisible disabilities on dating? Uh, Thyroid illness.
Mhm. So, with all transparency, I don't know how a thyroid illness would impact the dating process, but what I can say is that when it comes to dating, I think that what's really important is to date without that being a focus. Meet people, connect with them based on personality, attraction, all these other things. Date like you would date if that wasn't there. And then when you meet someone who you think is worth getting to know more, then put it out there. Say, hey, I just want to let you know, I deal with this thyroid illness, so that may mean I get, I don't know, nauseous occasionally. I don't know what the symptoms are. I'm just making this up. I get nauseous occasionally, so just wanted to put that out there. Are you okay with that? Or maybe I get really sleepy sometimes, so there may be times I go to bed early. I'm not cheating. I'm just going to bed early. I think that at that point in time is when you start to have those deeper conversations, and you'd be surprised. He may tell you, well, you know what? I got high blood pressure. So I don't know. Transparency invites transparency.
Okay. Um. Well, and this may. No, I'm not gonna answer that. What is one thing that you would want people to know about dating you?
I always tell people MJ and Malcolm are two completely different people. You know, that's the first thing. Because I mean, all of us, we will Google each other when we date, or we'll go and link each other on Instagram and everything like that. I don't have a personal social media presence. I have nothing that's personal. My social media presence has always been as an influencer, as a persona. And so there's no other place to go see information about me, right? And so from that perspective, I always tell people, if you're gonna date me, you have to understand this is my job. you know, in the same way, if you were to go see, who was I saw this interview the other day, Mick Jagger from the Rolling Stones. He was saying, he's like, I don't go to dinner parties strutting around like you see me strutting around on the stage. It's a persona, right? And so I always tell people, I would say that's the first thing they got to know is whatever you find online. And I'm proud of everything that's online about me in terms of my work. But if you see that, that's my work, and there are aspects of me, but that's not all of who I am. So that's probably the first thing that they would need to know about me. And the other thing is that, again, I'm very introverted. And so my quietness and so on and so forth is not a reflection of a lack of interest. It is just a reflection of someone who, is very comfortable in silence or very calm settings.
Right. Thank you. All right, guys, you guys have any additional questions? Panel, Bird, Daryl, you guys have any questions, follow-ups?
Can you if you're in a relationship and your partner cheated, can you forgive them? Can you stay with them? Is that a deal breaker?
In my first relationship, I cheated.
Mm.
And the reason why it would make me hard to stay, I can say from the other side. The reason why it would make me hard to stay because I remember that after that point when it happened. Because I told him I felt so guilty, and I came and told him like the next day or something like that. Right? He didn't have to discover that I told him. And I remember how it fundamentally changed our relationship because it fractured his trust. And although he was not a possessive or paranoid kind of person, I could feel his sense of uncertainty every time my phone would ring. Who called? Every time I was going, where are you going? It made it so uncomfortable. Of course, for him, he was hurt, and it made it uncomfortable for me too. And so my challenge with staying in a relationship after there's been infidelity, if you all agreed to monogamy,
Hmm.
is it's not the act itself that's devastating. It's how it fundamentally shifts your trust afterwards.
And Malcolm, it has been a pleasure to have you here on Mark's Hot Seat. I do appreciate you. And guys, please thank Malcolm for giving us his time here. He has some great responses to a lot of your questions. And I do appreciate you for answering all of my questions. And guys, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say thank you for having me on. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure I
No,
said this.
you're fine. You're
Thank you
fine.
for having me on because I always get nervous to do these type of things. I've in the 16 years I've been on camera, I I rarely do interviews. I never do anything live or anything like that. I always get nervous with them in these things, and I'm always like, I don't know what people want to ask me and everything like that. But you guys were so respectful. You made me so comfortable. I was reading the comments. Everyone in the comments was so nice, and so I've watched you for a while. I've watched you for a while. So yes, I appreciate your kindness to me.